Okay, so straight into Street Talk this week. Another good episode on Monday this week, wasn't it? With Todd and Theo. It feels like it's like the last 3 Mondays. They've been kind of notable episodes with Debbie's big speech and the girls' night out, and we had obviously the 65th anniversary episode with Maggie the following Monday. This week we had Todd and Theo. Is this some kind of strategy to hook you in at the beginning of the week? I don't know. What do you think?
It's interesting. I wonder whether it's this is completely just spitballing, but maybe they think that the audience they're trying to court, which is younger people, are more likely to be around on a Monday to watch Corrie than a Friday.
I wonder it
because really, what really is. This is the psychological thing about it being the end of the week. So it's like the end of something, and so it should end on a high, right?
Yeah.
But there's no reason why the last episode of the week should be the highlight of the week. Really?
I think that quite a lot of...
watch telly more on a Monday?
I wonder. I wonder whether it's that. I wonder whether it's like, well, if I watch it on Monday and I see something that's exciting, then I'm more likely to watch the next few episodes in the week. I'm not sure, but it does feel like so often when they have kind of a special or a kind of noteworthy episode, Monday is the day that it's on, which is all great for us because that's when our friend Rachel comes over and watches. So I think she gets the best of the best, doesn't she, on the whole? And obviously Corriedale's going to be on a Monday as well. I don't know whether anyone else has noticed that particularly. I think it does have the knock-on effect a little bit for me of making the week feel like, it starts on a high and then it gets kind of dwindles a little bit as the week's gone on. And that does not to say that when Wednesday and Fridays is always bad, but I'm always kind of comparing and saying, it wasn't as good as Mondays. I don't know. It's an interesting strategy if that's what they're going for. I think also the bonus with them doing, I suppose from their point of view, with them doing the big episodes on Monday is if there's any big reveals, then generally the TV guides come out on Tuesday. And so if there's anything the following week that ties into any big reveals on Mondays, then that's when they come out.
What does that mean? What's the benefit then?
Well, it means that they can have a big reveal on Monday, and it's the next day is when we get to find out what happens next week according to that big reveal. So they have to kind of hold it back for Monday.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So if they want to say what's happening next week, you can't have a big reveal happen on the Wednesday episode because the TV guides for next week is already saying... I know what I'm talking about anyway. It's too late to...
What happened this week?
Joe, I've got a storyline title in the bag for you that I've not revealed for you yet, and that's why I haven't even got the notes on screen at the moment.
You think this is such a great...
I'm quite pleased with this one, actually, yeah.
Header that you don't want to spoil it.
Well, it seems like so often recently when I come up with my storyline titles, I tell you during the week.
You can't help yourself.
I know, gone with the day. It used to be that I used to reveal live on the podcast here, so I'm bringing that back for 1 week only.
Is this as good as a surprise 16th birthday party?
A surprise 16th birthday party. Well, what would the equivalent to that would be is saying, Joe, I tell you what, I haven't got any storyline titles for this week, and then I'd rock out to the podcast and blast it out of the park with the best puns that I've ever seen.
You dare not do that because I'd be like, yeah, they are really bad, but you...
Okay, right. I'm calling the Todd and Theo story this week, You've Been Framed. There we go. Get a little bit of a giggle for that one.
Okay, so who got the £250?
Yeah, nobody yet. Although,
Well, it should really be Todd, but actually, Theo's the one that edited the video together.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe they can share it and then Jeremy Beadle can split it between them. Yeah, picture frames. He's been framed. It's perfect. And we have then got a little bit more of the Will story. Is
that the one?
That's the one.
Oh, great.
It's all right, isn't it? It's all right.
Absolutely fantastic.
It's all right. I'm getting the other ones this week that are new. Will Groomed still going, although I was mulling over whether to call it Will's Scarlet Woman, which is my new name for Megan.
That's what you were going to call it.
No, he's still got Will Groomed, or Will's Harlot, I said as well. Will Scarlet Harlot. We got a little bit more of the Joan Alone storyline, even though that's not really what it was about this week.
I like that it's festively themed.
Exactly. It's Christmassy, isn't it?
What Christmas film do you think they were watching? Because it didn't have a soundtrack I recognise. But I must say, I feel out of the loop on holiday movies because I don't care to watch Hallmark films.
No, the only Christmas film we've watched so far this year has been the traditional Muppet Christmas Carol, isn't it? While we were putting the tree up.
Yeah, and I stormed out halfway through because I couldn't deal with the fairy lights.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I remember it fondly.
This is why you put something on that you already seen.
Well, yeah,
so that you can have a tantrum.
Christmas trees is Muppet Christmas Carol or Love Actually. It feels like it's been a few years since we've watched Love Actually. Maybe that one we need to get out next week.
I can't deal with Love Actually. People moaning about that movie. It's just
Colson Smith, favourite Christmas film, Gemma.
So
are you
much.
serious?
Everyone in the movie is horrible and their relationships are bad.
It's
That's not the point of the film, you dimwit.
Right, we have got the full-on Dee-Dee departure this week. She's gone to Singapore, so it was proper classic, traditional back of the taxi exit for Dee-Dee.
This is the stupidest storyline, honestly. I'm going to go to Singapore. Why?
She got a great job there.
A great job working for a legal system that executes people and has them caned.
Yeah, but
she obviously super old.
She's got a bit of bloodlust in her.
I think she's an Old Testament kind of a girl.
Do you reckon? She's going to go Old Testament on the asses of the Singapore Crims.
She's she's in defence, right? So she's going to be stopping people from being executed. But I feel like that's not a fun job, and also don't get why you would think that it's a great place to raise your child.
I'm sure that Singapore has many benefits.
Of a single black English mum.
Who knows? That we'll talk about more of that when we get to it.
I'm sure she'll be surrounded by like-minded individuals within minutes.
There was also a little bit of Tracy and Cassie stuff, but on Wednesday, wasn't there? But not a whole lot. So I haven't got a storyline title for that one. It just feels like it's going through the motions, doesn't it? They're back and forth, and you might as well just call it Battle of the Bitches because you want to be so cliche about it and deja vu-ish.
I would definitely like to go to Singapore and live there if somebody gave me a job, but nobody's like said anything to her about why the hell do you want to go to Singapore? What is it about Singapore? Like, what do you know about it that we don't know about? Like, what's the allure?
It does kind of feel like the curry bosses are like countries in a hat, or spin the globe, put your finger on it. It's like, Singapore. Okay, well, if that's what the globe is telling me.
It's not even Dee-Dee that. Yeah, it's literally, I want to know what Coronation Street is thinking. Not like, what are they thinking? But like, what did you just kind of go, look, everyone goes to Thailand.
I was going to say, yeah.
We can't keep saying it. People started to notice.
Utterly ridiculous. Yet another.
It's not utterly ridiculous. It's
yet
just
another emigration. It's silly. I would say that Dee-Dee deserves better, but I guess she's only been in the show for 3 years.
It just isn't plausible, is it? It just isn't
implausible.
It's like, who in Singapore? It's like headhunting people who work in Weatherfield in like a legal services that's so dodgy and like and compact that there's only 2 people that work there, and the office is actually also a knocking shop for them.
I know, seriously.
Whenever they feel like having a quick shag on the desk because there's nowhere else to go.
I know. Well,
does Alia work there still? I can't remember.
Maybe.
I mean, she's an expert on Irish law, and now Dee-Dee's going to be an expert on Singapore law.
Maybe they'll be able to ship Alia into the Driscoll story when it all comes out about Maggie pushing Alan down the stairs.
Well, I mean, it's not really any different from any of the other things she's doing, like boundary disputes and any kind of like contract law.
I am sad that Dee-Dee didn't get a proper exit, but not in the slightest bit surprised. It was very much in keeping with Yasmin's.
I know we started. We've got to save it because it's just really infuriatingly it's like,
come on.
Some parts of Coronation Street is like a beautiful oil painting, right, with all these details and all this time and care that's been like put into it, and you admire it and you go, wow, the more I look at this, the more well done it is, and I can see how much love and care.
Impressed with the planning skills and forethought.
And then some of them are like, here's a paint by numbers, you do the colours, I don't care what colour it ends up being.
Dee-Dee needs to lead in 5 episodes or less. Literally,
fill in the blanks yourself. Why did Dee-Dee even know these people exist? Why did they know she existed? Why did she think that it's okay? Like, she literally, at the end of it, James is going, yeah, it was just a stupid pipe dream to be co-parents.
I know.
I didn't really care about Layla at all.
Well, no, but he said, so we are totally skipping ahead. Sorry, this is not fair, but it's ridiculous. He was saying, well, I know you wouldn't have chosen to go if it wasn't indeed in Layla's best interests.
Really?
Sorry, how is it in Layla's best interests?
Layla doesn't give a sod where she is.
No.
Layla's not like, Mummy, I've expressed an early interest in going to live in Asia. I think it would be great for my future prospects. Like, why? What? Nobody, like, if Dee-Dee had said one thing about what it is specifically that she thinks is going to be better for her and Layla in Singapore, I might have let it slide. But all she's done is gone, oh, it's more money and less time, and
they really want me.
And it's really good for the future. Like, why? There's no job in the entire whole globe. There's no job on earth that is going to be as good as this one job in Singapore, and luckily they sort her out. Why Singapore is so stupid?
Look, we will resume this discussion when we get to Dee-Dee.
It might have been like, why not like Timbuktu or
Kuala Lumpur?
Yeah, why not?
That's where all the good characters
just say
go.
Anywhere.
Right, you've been framed this week, Gemma, and oh my gosh, what a fantastic episode Monday's Coronation Street was. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I know I run hot and cold on whether I like these experimental episodes or not, but this one I think this one I went into with excited about, but also just a little bit trepidatious, thinking, oh, it could be a bit naff. Were you feeling that, or did you have trust in Corrie and director Matt Hilton going into Monday's ep?
No, I wasn't thinking it was going to be crap. I thought it'd be great.
I didn't think it would be, but I was worried that I might end up thinking that it might be.
Before I knew what the gimmick was, and I'm sorry to say gimmick, I can't think of anything else. You guys are going to have to be patient with me over the next few weeks, because my brain was taken out of my head and it was put in storage for a few weeks, and so I'm really just running on whatever's left on the inside of my skull, which is not a great deal of brain stuff.
Gemma has got lots going on at the moment.
So what was I saying? Oh yeah, before I knew what the gimmick was, we just knew that they were telling a story in an unprecedented way, and I was like, oh, I knew it was Matt Hilton, and I definitely trust him to do a great job.
If anyone's going to do a great job,
so the fact it was Matt Hilton, I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then when I found out it was going to be CCTV, first of all, I was annoyed. Like, I think I've said this before recently on the podcast, that I didn't want to find out what it was that they were doing. So I was like, oh, okay, that's good. I can't remember what my thoughts.
You said first you were annoyed.
Yeah, first I was annoyed that I found out what the gimmick was, and then I was like, no, actually, this is a really genius way of telling a story, and it hasn't been done, as far as I know.
No,
I believe
it hasn't.
them when they say definitely hasn't been done on Corrie, and what a perfect way of doing it. And
it very much made sense for the story and the setup they had for it, with Todd putting the cameras in. This Ring doorbell chime, whatever it's called, camera that they've had in their flat has been drip fed into the show for the last few weeks. I mean, Steve, this is what we were wondering would happen maybe with Steve, because he got his Ring doorbell, or was it Ken living there at the time? I don't remember, at number one, and they ended up doing pretty much nothing with it.
I wonder whether somebody pitched something similar when they had the Ring doorbell installed, and they thought, no, we could do a lot with this idea. Let's keep this. Let's develop this idea. Because it's not difficult to imagine how they could have used that Ring doorbell previously. But was it actually a Ring? It wasn't a Ring doorbell.
No, it wasn't Ring.
They would never let anybody do this with a branded product. I think.
So it was. Yeah, it's just so clever having, because you had your photo frames as cameras, you had the general, whatever it is, Alexa view, or I don't know, in the flat that Theo knew was there. You had the doorbell, you had police body cams, you had various CCTVs, you had the police surveillance video. There's been a couple of interviews with Matt Hilton that have come out since Monday, and he did a great Instagram story Q&A, not live, story Q&A, and I've been, I've given him a few texts back and forth since Monday as well, and yeah, it felt like such a massive undertaking, that using all different cameras, trying to find out what would work, what would give the right effect, and apart from, and I will always, I'll say things.
You are very irritatingly honest at times, yeah.
I think that when they have when they have text overlaid on the screen, like, you know, if they want to show somebody video recording, they'll have a little flashing red light and something that says "wreck" next to it. Or in the police station scene, they had the Weatherfield police station branding over it. I always think that looks a little bit off. But actually, the quality of the camera work, it was absolutely dead on.
The recording symbol, yeah, that's a bit of a silly cliche because you only see that when you're recording it. It doesn't record it onto the, the video itself.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like having a logo on the screen, like a watermarker or something on I'm sure I've seen it before. The thing is that I liked about this is that it really leaned into the true crime kind of.
Well, yeah, this is right up your street, isn't it? I think Matt said that he wanted it to be like. What is it called? 24 Hours in Police Custody?
Did he say that?
Yeah.
Because I just watched one of those. I watched one the other day because people recommended it about the surgeon in the fireplace, and then I watched the most recent one about some people with the custody battle.
So I've never seen this. So how was Corrie similar to it?
I don't know about 24 Hours in Police Custody specifically because, like I said, I've only ever watched 3 episodes of it. But there was a Netflix documentary called The Perfect Neighbour that came out not that long ago, and it was all just live footage. There's no narration, and that's what this was like. Everything, you don't need a narrator. It's not like a crime documentary, but it was like a crime documentary.
Yeah, like a drama. I one of my favourite bits was when the police burst into the flat, and you get the really shaky body cam footage of them going in the door and then up the stairs and then into the flat, and you see the disarray that's there, and that felt like proper something off one of those kind of programs. How I imagine it would be.
It's good too because it didn't feel like, oh, this isn't Corrie.
No, it didn't. But it didn't feel like it wasn't Corrie. Clearly, some people will say that's not what Corrie is, and I totally get that. But I still felt very much like I was watching a Corrie, but it was kind of like a Corrie special. And it's been a long time since we've been that much on the edge of our seats during an episode of Coronation Street as well, because they were leaning into the
I know
what's happened here, because they were only choosing to show us certain clips of it, and you could almost believe like, well, maybe the video didn't capture something, but then they did go and show it later. At various points during Monday's episode, we were looking at each other and going, have they killed off Theo?
Yeah.
And have they killed off Todd? And I was racking my brains thinking, have I seen any pictures of like future episodes with either of those in? I don't know. No, it turns out that the promo pictures that they put out for Wednesday's episode did have Theo sitting down for that dinner with George. I hadn't seen those, and I think if you'd have seen those, then certainly a whole lot of the tension that we felt had been gone, because I'm not saying I was convinced, but I was saying this is very, very likely that they could have had Todd accidentally kill Theo in self-defense here.
Now, in my very, very naughty exploration of Coronation Street sets, you guys know that I went to the hospital set, and I told you that I saw some names on beds that I didn't reveal. Like
Jerome Costello.
That was the first one, and the second one was Theo's name. So I knew that he was going to end up in hospital, but I didn't know if he was going to live.
Yes.
So, because you don't go to the hospital if you're well.
No. Unless you're Becky Swain.
Oh, no. She just goes there because she likes the canteen.
So, I was very much on edge, and the way that they were cutting, and they were almost teasing us, weren't they? Like when they had Kit saying, Todd, I'm arresting you for, and then kind of cutting away. And we were like, oh my God, what is it? Is it murder? Is it attempted murder?
It was really clever.
I really, really loved it. And I think that, and I said this on the short, that the use of the cameras in the way that they did made it feel a lot more tense, a lot more claustrophobic. One of the things that I didn't actually notice when I was watching, but I really appreciated since reading a little bit more about it afterwards, is that they put the ceiling in the flat. And with most of the sets, well, all of the sets, they'd never have ceilings because, they want to get the lights and everything in there. But I think, having the ceiling in there did something with the lighting, and it made it feel a lot more boxed in, a lot more tense, a lot more dangerous of a place for Todd to have been. It's brilliant. I loved the fact that the Christmas tree was often in the foreground, and they had that TNT ball dangling off that to say, oh look, it's the perfect family, but oh no, this is what's actually going on here. I loved how after it all happened, you had the frame camera by the Christmas tree sort of on the floor, so you got this kind of the skewed angle of it, and it is like the footage was a bit damaged or fuzzy around the corner as well. I can't fault, apart from the watermarks, can't fault
No, they're fine.
anything to do with the direction or the concept of it. I thought it was really, really clever move. I almost want to get to maybe we'll do it in our end of year review, I'm sure we will, looking at the vast array of special episodes that there have been during the year, and you could almost do like a top 10 of those, couldn't you? Because there's probably been enough of them to say, well, which ones worked the best and which ones didn't. Because it all started last year with the Paul and Billy special episode, the Inside Paul's Head, and some of them have been more successful in my mind than others. The Mason death episode at the beginning of the year this year was a real early standout, and I'd have to have a proper think about it, but I think probably this was right up there, maybe my second favourite special episode of the year. We left the episode, it finished, and we were like, that was a great trip to Corrie. That was brilliant, and as always, focusing on one story rather than spotting around to the other ones kind of helped the immersion as well.
It's kind of like a found footage movie as well, which is also one of my favourite genres of horror movie.
Yeah, it was like found footage.
And Theo was the evil monster.
It felt like we were prying in on something really kind of seedy and private, and
it's funny though, because
behind closed doors.
The idea that when you watch a soap is that you're watching, you are like the omnipresent, like you're spying on people, and this was like, it properly really was what a soap is, which is just watching people in that,
Yeah, it was quite Big Brother-ish, wasn't it, in that way?
Yeah, like it actually made sense why you could see what was happening, because normally it's like, oh, I'm just a floating head who happens to be in the right place at the right time at all moments.
Yeah, it felt very realistic, it felt very raw, and for something that was quite so kind of sickening and visceral as the storyline and the content that we were getting, it just all added up to a fab episode to me.
So Monday's episode was just this story.
Yes, that's right.
And it started, it wasn't just one day's worth of action, it started last Monday.
Yes, well, I enjoyed that, and I don't think I realised that was going to happen. Obviously, last Friday's episode ended with, we saw the flat all being turned over. Yeah, the crisps on the floor, and and they were both camera shots, weren't they? In-universe camera shots.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you hadn't known that Monday was going to be this particular style, you might have been kind of clued in a little bit. But what I didn't realise, although obviously it makes sense, is that this Monday's episode kind of scrolled back in a way to how we got to there, and we saw a little bit on last Monday, a little bit on Wednesday, because this story didn't feature at all last week. So it was what have we missed out on?
I couldn't, my brain.
No, none of it was there. I mean, we saw a little bit of Theo at the Underworld Christmas party in the bistro. We were too busy being distracted by Dirk and his snowman glasses, I think, to notice him. But I've since
He's
seen
just a magnet for my eyes.
I know he is. I've seen. I think somebody posted it on Reddit. The picture of, look, Theo's here, and that was clearly Theo just before his altercation with Todd when he was getting tanked up in the bistro to go and have a go at him back at home. So yeah, this was all like, while all this drama's been going on with Carla and Lisa and all that, this has been going on. And it a bit like the Aidan suicide story in a way, where he was having all these internal struggles, and we as viewers didn't have any idea, even though they dropped a couple of clues in, which afterwards seemed so obvious. This was like, yeah, we've got no idea that this is going on whilst all the other drama is happening. And like you said, soaps are all about, a bit of fly on the wall, what's going on behind closed doors. But the way that they put it all together, just added that and emphasised it to the max. So it started last Monday, like you said. It's got Sarah Lou coming to visit Todd. Theo's out of the shop and everything's Christmassy and lovely. And Theo comes home. He's brought himself some lemons. Todd had wanted some limes, hadn't they? He's making some Thai food.
It's really funny because as you're going through it, not really nothing you haven't written down at where the footage is taken from or anything.
No.
And it's like if you had to skip the beginning, the intro of us talking about this storyline, you wouldn't really know what makes this so different or because the action that we're relating to you is the same as the action we would have seen if it was filmed traditionally.
Yeah.
So it goes to show you how
much of a difference the technique can
it really did. The medium that we watched it through was so unique.
But it makes me wonder, Corrie are churning out these special episodes at the moment.
You said this before. Are you going to say when they're going to run out of ideas?
Yeah, exactly. Can they do this again? Will it be as effective the next time?
No, they won't do this again. But they've got, look,
how many different, maybe it's just me being completely uncreative, but how many different ways?
I don't think we should worry about it. I'm not going to worry about it, because number one, it's not my problem, and I do worry too much about things that have nothing to do with me. I need to stop. That's my New Year's resolution. Stop caring about things that don't concern me. And the other thing is, I think this is a Kate Brooks thing, and I think that Kate Brooks will stay at Corrie for like 4 years, 5 years, and then the next producer will just not do this.
You're right. This is an era, isn't it?
Yeah, and I
it's
don't
going
mind
to
that.
stop.
I think it's good. I think it's good that it feels to me as though every time we have a new producer, it's almost like there is a shift that seems more prominent to me, and it's probably just because we're doing the podcast, so we talk about it and analyse it more. But it feels like, Kate Brooks, her era was like super edgy and like gritty stuff.
You can imagine her sitting down at the interview and them saying, "So, what would you bring to Corrie?" And her going,
Special
"Tell you what,
episodes.
special episodes, one-off episodes." And they're like, "Actually, I don't care. We need anybody for this job.
What you want.
You can have it. Nobody
She's
else
like,
wants to touch this producer's role with a bad fell."
Okay, I will do what I want. And I think we'll know when they've run out of ideas, when they finally hit that musical one that I'm telling them about. Trying to get.
No, that's...
And you know what the best
right
part about it
there
is that they can use Happy Birthday now.
It is, it's
Out of right.
Yeah. Anyway, so what was I saying?
Sorry.
So Theo's home and he's all happy and smiley, and Sarah...
Yeah, like you said, he brought him lemons.
Yeah. So
when life
it
gives
brings
you
lemons,
limes, say, this was supposed to be lemons.
So as soon as Sarah Lou leaves, Theo immediately has a go at Todd for letting her in. He's like, "You should have told her that she was busy." He's clearly still not happy that Theo is, so that Todd is spending time with somebody who was very, very important to him once upon a time. So Theo goes into the kitchen, turns off the Christmas music. All that happiness and joy that we saw between Todd and his old mate Sarah is gone.
His
and
lover.
he says, "Well, actually, Gary's coming over later. We're going to watch football together. Deal with it." And Todd tries to protest because he's still got a little bit of fight in him, hasn't he? And will we see what that then leads to later in the episode? But before long, he's saying, "Yeah, well, I suppose it'll do you good having Gary round. I'll just give you some space."
Go to the Rovers.
I can't remember whether he's... But he ended up going into the bedroom, didn't he, for quite a long time with a laptop.
Yeah.
And Theo's like, "Oh, wow, now you're making me feel bad." It's a bit like Jeff, and the comparisons are inescapable. Even what happened, the main gist of this episode being the victim gets pushed too far and ends up attacking the abuser and then gets accused of doing it himself. It's basically what happened to Yasmin, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the bottle incident. This was the bottling of this story. And Corrie does need to be careful, I suppose, not to just go down that same well-worn route to saying, "Well, it worked with Yasmin, let's do it here."
What are you saying?
If Corrie ends up just copying the Yasmin story...
No. You're not copying a story, you're copying a methodology. That's like, no, you can't say that because this is how it works.
But it doesn't always work that the victim ends up getting accused of being the abuser.
I told you before about Darvo. Do you not remember what Darvo is?
Of course. But I still think...
I'm just going to remind people, deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. It's like a technique as old as time. It's how people get manipulated. They become the victim. And there's no more dramatic way of doing it than to pretend to be the victim of violence. That's why it happens the same in the soap, because you escalate to the most dramatic way of demonstrating this manipulation technique, and there's no other way of doing it than with violence.
But you can't blame viewers who are going to say, "Hang on a minute, we've seen this just 5 years ago." But I personally think that they're still doing enough to keep it feeling separate.
You're saying
from that story.
don't blame viewers, but really you mean you, because I've not heard anyone else complain about this except you.
Well,
write in if you want to complain.
You also think that this is just like the Yasmin story. I don't know. If the Theo ends up falling off that corner shot roof, then sorry.
Yeah, I mean, my response to you is basically that you can only tell a manipulation and abuse storyline in a very limited way, because it like functions in the same way every time, because that's just how the manipulation works.
That's how they get
But the argument is, do you want to do it again after 5 years? This is what you're saying. But the response is that this is a gay couple, and so the dynamics are a bit different.
But you even had with this one some people, didn't get too many people sympathising with Theo in the same way that people were probably like, oh, poor Jeff during that storyline, he's gone to hospital. Even on Wednesday, Christina's like saying, oh no, poor Theo, I can't believe Todd to do that. And she seems to backtrack a little bit on Tuesday's episode. But I don't know, we'll see as it goes on. It's interesting
because I think the gender dynamics make it different. Like when a man and a woman have a domestic dispute, it's almost everyone always instantly assumes the man is the violent one. And you get Corey even tackled that when we had Kirsty and Tyrone.
Yeah,
so they've done it so many times, but I think that as our understanding of how people are abused grows, as people become more empathetic, I think stories like this they change because they can portray what actually happens in a realistic way. Do you know?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Anyway, Todd ends up, like we said, not going to the pub because Theo is getting all defensive and saying, oh, well, now you're making me feel bad because I'm pushing you out, supposedly. And Todd's like, fine, no, I won't go out then. I'll go in the bedroom. I'll still be here with you. And then he's like, oh, well, if that's what you want. Literally, everything that Todd says, it must be so exhausting. Yeah. Like, Todd's trying to say the right thing, and every single utterance is just getting purposefully taken the wrong way by Theo. But anyway, Gary arrives and he's got his Christmas hat on, and we don't really get to see any of what they get up to this football game. But once
who won?
Exactly, who knows? As soon as Gary goes, Todd emerges from the bedroom and says that he's been watching A Wonderful Life, his favourite Christmas film, which Theo has never seen before. He's also, like you say, he's still trying to defend himself a little bit, and he's trying to
assert himself.
Assert himself. You're right, because he's saying, well, Theo, your drinking isn't helping our situation really at the moment. And Theo's like, oh yeah, well, come on then, what's up? Let me get a pen and paper down so I can write down these pearls of wisdom. And Theo says,
well, he's talking about fun, and Theo's like, well,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe you should think about why the fun stops when you come in.
Yeah, he's such a kid. Like, everyone across the country is just shaking their fist at the TV on Monday, and then he takes this laptop, starts spinning it around, and then slams it to the ground. So he's literally destroying Todd's laptop. And then he says, "You made me do it. It was your fault." And that to me was a callback. Not a purposeful one, but it reminded me of Frank Foster after he raped Carla, and his first utterance afterwards was, "You made me do it." Turning it round on him. Anyway, we then get to Wednesday, last Wednesday, and Theo's giving Todd some nice decorations, and everything's joyful with them again. He's painting on this fake happy family Christmas vibe, and he says, oh, I should go and get a tree. You stay here, I'll go and get it. I'll have some hot chocolate later and a bit of nookie maybe. And then it gets to Friday, the tree's up. Todd hears Theo coming up the stairs, and he's been there scoffing crisps, hasn't he?
Lazing around.
Yeah, slobbing about on the sofa, just getting in any chance to have a little bit of normalcy. And Theo says, oh, the flat's a tit, what are you doing? You just been lounging around eating crisps? And Todd says, Theo, you've clearly been having a drink here, because this is after he's come back from the bistro, isn't it? Yeah. And Todd says, I can't deal with you like this. Goes and heads into the bedroom. Theo starts picking around the kitchen, finds the crisp packet, puts it on the side, all like on display, and then says in like a smiley voice, "Oh, Todd, come back into the lounge," and then presents this evidence to him and said, "Yo, you really shouldn't be hiding stuff from me. Oh, it really hurts me." And then starts force feeding him the crisps in a similar way to, well,
Bruce Bogtrotter.
Oh, it is a bit Bruce Bogtrotter-ish. Also a little bit like the kebab scene that we had earlier this year. And also it reminded me of David chucking peanuts at Gail that one time. And remember spreading a little bit of peanut-shaped happiness, because he starts chucking these crisps shards at him, doesn't he?
Todd, yeah.
And he's trying to say the right thing again and saying, "Look, I know this must be really difficult for you at the moment, everything that's going on." And Theo's like, "You don't tell me how to feel." Todd escapes into the bedroom, and I think this was an advert break, wasn't it? Theo yelling at him to open up, and we hear him kicking the door down. But obviously, this is a very effective time that they don't have a bedroom set, because this was left to our imagination of what was going on in here. And again, it probably was a bit more effective if you were watching this live or with adverts, because we just cut straight to here's what's happened next. But for the people who are watching it with ads, you had like, oh my gosh, what is going on for 3 minutes or so. But after the break, you see that Theo's got a bloodied arm, and they're both in the kitchen.
See, this is interesting because it's like the action took the advert break into consideration with the time passing, which is obviously a conscious decision because we'd missed out on how the arm was bloody.
Yeah, so often on Corrie, I'll criticise it for saying something happened rather than showing it. But I think this was a really good example of tell, don't show, because it was almost left to our imagination a bit exactly what went on in there, didn't it?
But it's a really canny way of like maintaining the facade of, you know, you're watching something that's really happening and you were just away for a minute and now you're back again. But it is also interesting because it didn't take into consideration at all the streaming services or YouTube or anything, which makes me glad, because I don't want them to make shows for anything but analog television. Because I think that's, you know, that's how it should be watched. But then we don't watch it like that. Well, you know what I'm saying.
I think I'm quite glad that they also didn't show this bedroom scene, because that would suggest that they had a camera set up in the bedroom, and you know, they like to express themselves physically, don't they, Todd and Theo?
Okay, I don't. Yeah.
They're not ones for cameras.
But that bedroom is obviously just a very narrow corridor. Yeah. Because there's no physical room.
No room for it.
So what I imagine is in there is actually just two coffins lying in the space on top of each other on kind of like a bunk bed thing that he's got off George.
Do you reckon?
And they just like lay down with their arms crossed at night.
Well, we did see the bedroom when Sinead was busily dying in there, didn't we?
Oh, hang on, what's the
actually fairly
difference
roomy.
between a coffin and a casket? I can't remember. Whichever one is the one that's got the less room.
Anyway, so what transpires of what happened is that Theo was holding Todd down, and then Todd smashes him with the glass, was it?
The glass on the table smashes.
Yeah.
And Todd hits him with it.
Yeah, that's right, just to get him off. And he said, "But you were attacking me." And Theo at this point is saying, "Todd, you're really scaring me." He's just twisting it, isn't he? Making it, again, for the cameras, this is probably going to come back and bite Todd in the bum, because there's now this video footage of Theo saying, "You're scaring me, Todd."
Well, that's why he made the video.
Yeah, he's like, "You need to raise your voice, so stop raising your voice, calm down." And Todd has not been raising his voice. So this is like total gaslighting here. He's totally calm through all of this. And then Todd runs into the bathroom where Theo locks him in it before heading down onto the street.
And leaves him there.
Yeah, leaves him there. And nothing particularly... He left him there overnight, didn't he, I think?
Where's Theo been peeing? In the sink?
Yeah. Climbing up the scaffold and
I hope he didn't need to do anything elaborate.
This was, I think, the first moment where we were like, is Todd dead? Because we see him unlocking the door, don't we, on the Saturday morning, and he's kind of wandering around the lounge.
Who is? Theo.
Yeah. And Todd's not coming out. There's a really long wait before Todd emerges from there, and we were like, you know, has something happened to him overnight? Is he So he succumbs to something. And yeah, it was. I'm glad that obviously that's not the case, but it was really, really good tension building. And Todd eventually kind of wanders out, and Theo is straight onto, well, you're lucky that I didn't hurt my arm worse last night actually. And Todd's apologising, Theo's smiling, saying, "Oh, it's all right. Let's have a cuddle. Let's have Italian tonight." Yeah. Classic Theo behaviour basically, and. Then you get the scene of them on Saturday evening watching the film. They're watching It's a Wonderful Life, and it's like nothing's happened. It is so infuriating in a way, seeing Todd just going back to it again and again and again. And it's like he's trapped. He's not comfy in this situation. At any point, he could escape, technically. But this is, I suppose, just wanting to show just how much... he's been turned into a shell of himself by Theo, and he feels like he's got no agency anymore. I think that's what Corey's supposed to be getting across. I've seen people saying, and I have been thinking it myself as well, like, oh come on, wouldn't he leave? Have you been thinking that, or are you feeling that it's realistic enough that he's staying there?
Emotionally, it is very difficult and confusing to watch somebody in this situation, but intellectually I have been told often enough, and I believe what people say because there's no reason for them to lie about it, that it is difficult and it almost for some people impossible to leave an abusive relationship. So even though I don't understand it, and I can't see how it's actually happening in his head to not want to go and just say sod you, I'm off. You
can try and put yourself in the situation, can't you? And say, well, if that was me, I'd leave. Yeah, and I think lots of people would say that about Todd.
And at the end of the episode, I don't think those people will have been convinced that Todd is somebody who can't just go. It's tricky because it doesn't really. Do we need to understand it, or do we just need to accept that it happens? Like,
it's really tough.
This is what I just keep saying to myself. I can't understand everyone's perspective, but I completely believe when somebody tells me, and you see it all around you. The statistics speak for themselves. It's people aren't staying in abusive relationships just to make the numbers up. There's obviously some kind of thing that we can't grasp. Like, only people that have been through it really know.
I just wonder whether Corey could have done more to show Todd's descent into such a sorry state that this is what he feels like he has to stay with. And the story has featured really heavily. I don't think you
can. I think unless... If this hasn't made you understand it, then you never will understand it. Like, it's really hard to explain exactly what I mean, but I think a lot of people can know what I'm saying. Because it does feel a bit, it feels as though it's difficult to justify why he stays there. But it's the manipulation and the hot and cold and the difficulty of being, kind of trapped.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's easy to explain it. But Coronation Street has done as well as it can.
Yeah, I think it's
the same as the suicidal story with Aidan and Asha. I will never understand how they came to what they did, either of them. And I'm glad that we should just be grateful that our brains don't understand it, rather than kind of trying to use your logic to say that they should never have been in that situation in the first place.
Yeah, I think you've got to just go with it. And
you can't put yourself in everyone's shoes.
I'm going with it, yeah. We get another moment of, has something happened to Todd later on, a little bit later in the episode, because Todd's saying that he's going to go down to the computer shop on Inkerman Street to get his laptop fixed. And Theo's immediately on the defensive again, saying, "Oh, you're going to leave me? You're going out? What's going on? And you're always wanting something now, and nothing I ever do is good enough for you." And Todd's like, "You did break it." Theo's almost twisting the narrative to make out that it wasn't even him that did it. But and then he kind of goes for Todd after Todd accuses him of breaking it, and we don't get to see what happens next because it then cuts to George and Christina coming in to visit Theo in the flat, and we don't know where Theo is exactly. Todd is, sorry, exactly. And they're saying they've not seen him for weeks. And Theo's like, no, he's fine, everything's okay. Yeah, I've got a bandage on my arm from the glassing incident, there's nothing.
He doesn't say that.
What does he say?
He says it's fine, get out.
Yeah, he gets them out pretty quickly. But then we then see Todd coming back from the shop later. He's bought some porridge for Theo. And
Wow.
it turns out, as usual, that Theo's been tracking him. What were you doing in Victoria Gardens for 8 minutes? Who were you with? And Todd's still, again, trying to cling on to some agency of his own here, saying, I just needed a breather from you. You're suffocating me. And then Theo goes for him again. And then this is the bigger time jump, isn't it? Because the next thing that we see is the police turning up at the flat, and this is my favourite bit of the episode, them coming into the room, like knocking the door down, going upstairs, just finding this flat all turned upside down, and finding Todd there, and it's like, oh, what has happened? Because I was like, is Todd going to be dead? Is Theo dead now? And they left it a good long time on this part of the episode before revealing what had happened to Theo, didn't they? It could very well have been that he was no more. Because we got the interview room scenes there next. Kit's telling him everything's going to be all right. You just need to tell me what happened. And Todd's saying, we had a row. Things got out of hand. It was a heat of the moment. We said things that we shouldn't have said. It got a bit physical, pushing and shoving. It was an accident, though. Just one of those things. We don't need to make anything of it. It happens sometimes. I just want to go home. And Kit's kind of telling him, well, you can't go home, and it doesn't feel like an accident, actually. Has anything like this happened before? So meanwhile, you got Bernie and Dev in the shop who are being spoken to by a police officer, and Bernie's
on the
through the body cam. Yeah, that's right. Bernie's not really able to say anything particularly helpful there. But they are kind of saying, well, we heard some fighting upstairs. Todd's getting really desperate by this point, saying everyone falls out, everyone rows. There's some quite quick cuts between the evidence gathering back on the street and Todd getting really panicky in the police station, and he's saying, look, I can't do this. I know this is serious. It got out of hand, but we were fighting. But you've seen the size of him. He's strong and he can pin me down and he can hurt me. So he's trying to say what happened.
Do you think
there was a shove? I never intended it to go as far as it did. It was an accident, just an accident. I didn't mean to hurt him.
Do you think that if he was a woman, he would have to have justified himself as much as Todd is? Because Todd's like going, look, because they're both blokes, right? So he's like saying, he is still stronger than me, even though we're equals as we're both men, but he's like bigger than me, and so he was attacking me, and I had to defend myself.
Yeah,
I don't know whether a woman would have to sort of justify. It's evident to anybody, if a man and woman are in a sort of scrap, then the bloke's 99% of the time going to have the upper hand.
Yeah, you're right. I think Kit's just. It feels like maybe Kit is on Todd's side, and he just wants at this point, but because we didn't know, Kit knew, Todd knew what was going on with Theo, that he was,
I'm surprised he didn't offer the footage as evidence.
I don't know whether that had all been kind of gathered together by that point, because it was fairly soon afterwards. You see the time stamps on everything, and this was pretty quick turnaround. And this is where you get the bit where Kit says, I'm arresting you for, and then it's all explained in the flashback, which obviously is a technique that Corrie is enjoying at the moment, and I think this is a very effective use of one. So this is where we see the scene of Theo chasing Todd around the flat, saying, we can't carry on like this. Todd saying, I don't want to be with you. He's saying, I don't want to be with you, I don't want to be with you, I don't want to be with you. Theo's telling him he's vile. All of this stuff, how on earth? I thought this was going to be the end of them. Whatever state that Theo is in, surely Todd can't go back to him after this. But he did.
Well, they butt heads just like two blokes out on the lash.
Yeah. They're squaring up to each other.
They're literally like dipped foreheads like a pair of sheep.
felt so proud of Todd for not giving in too much. I was like, yeah, go for it, Todd, go for it. But still at the same time, desperate to know what happens. And this is when we see the push, and he goes over the table, doesn't he? And he's there not moving. Todd's desperately sad and guilty about what happened, goes over and kind of cradles him. There's blood all over his hands. Then Bernie at the same time buzzes over the intercom. And this is when, they come up and find him in this state.
Men of Weatherfield are very... Well, not Weatherfield, just men in the show, very fragile, because Alan fell down the stairs and died immediately. And now Theo's fallen over a coffee table. And
he's not fragile at all.
Yes, he is. He's bleeding.
He is, but he gets over it pretty quickly, doesn't he?
He goes to hospital.
Yeah, because...
I've fallen over things bigger than a table and not gone to hospital.
I think this was another advert break, if I remember rightly. We see that, and then we see Todd saying it was just an accident. Advert break. And this was part of the episode that I felt a little bit let down on, because the next scene you get is Theo's just there happily smiling away in the hospital.
Why did that let you down?
Just because I felt like, oh, he's okay then. I was thinking, this episode is absolutely brilliant. I'm loving this. This feels like they're going to have a huge twist here. They're going to pull the rug out from under us. They're going to kill one of them off. This is going to be something that we're not expecting at all. And then they just cut to him being, I'm fine, I'm okay. And I was like,
well, that is the twist.
Yeah, the twist that he was fine, I suppose. But I was ready for there to be a complete, change of direction here. And it was just like, so it's okay then. And then you had George and Christina kind of cooing over Theo, and Christina saying, oh, poor Theo.
Theo really, I made a joke about going, I wouldn't have gone to hospital for it, but Theo's gone to hospital purposefully because he wants, no matter whether he was...
I don't know how much choice he got.
Well, he wants to make a big fuss because he can use it as leverage over Todd.
Yeah, he's making himself out to be the victim.
And this is why he's like, I don't remember. I hurt my head.
Yes, so he does, doesn't he? You're right.
Bust that out when he wants to, and suddenly remember very conveniently and tell the police if he feels like he wants to. That's what I think.
Yeah. He then he turns up at the police station, doesn't he, to go and see Todd as he comes out, and immediately goes in for a hug. But Theo's been telling, I can't remember if it was Kit or one of the other officers he was talking to. I think it was just a PC, saying his side of the story, getting it in there. Oh yeah, because the officer gives him a leaflet about domestic violence, doesn't he?
One thing I think that's really interesting me and kind of catching me by surprise is that there doesn't seem to be any portrayal of like homophobia about the way that anyone's reacting to this.
Oh, how do you mean? What would you?
I just expected them to try to explore it in a way, because it would be a very high profile way of like bringing it to people's attention, kind of like with Dee-Dee and the maternal health of black mothers. Like, you wouldn't know unless you're in that situation, and you can't be in that situation unless you're that kind of person. But not taking it seriously. Like they gave Theo the domestic abuse leaflet. I'm sure that there are lots of victims of domestic abuse who are gay who haven't been offered support because they're gay, and it's assumed that they'll react in a different way than they would do if it was a straight, I see what you mean. Oh, you're a bloke, you look after yourself, you don't need a leaflet if you want to, you know what I mean? Somebody, I think it's because the Weatherfield cops are all just like characters now, so they don't want to make them homophobic. And obviously I'm not accusing any police force of being homophobic. It would be stupid to pretend that there wouldn't be somebody with
Weatherfield police are racist, if you remember, from the James and Michael storyline back in the day.
They're not homophobic, they're just racist. But you know what I mean? Because it's a gay couple, I thought they would use this to explore elements that are specifically unique to that relationship.
They still might.
Because
I was thinking as we were watching Mondays, surely this is the big turning point for it, and they're not going to stay together, but they do, because they go back to the flat. Theo's telling him, oh, you look at the mess you've made, this was supposed to be our safe space, I don't even recognise you anymore. And And then he finds the photo frames, doesn't he? That was a brilliant moment. And again,
it's smashed.
great cliffhanger at the end of the episode, because he's like, did you put this in here? And and the camera goes right up to Todd's face, and then it cuts to black, and there's just like a few seconds of silence. And then the credits come. And again, I was thinking,
it's like the end of a found footage horror movie.
Yeah, it was. I didn't think at that stage that something would happen to Todd, because I would have thought if they were going to make something really tragic happen to him, they would have had it happen on Monday. But it was a really brilliant cliffhanger, and I think those few seconds of silence before the credits came in were super effective as well. And something else that we haven't talked about yet is the fact that they didn't have advert music over the the theme music over the bumpers, did they? When they were cutting to the advert breaks, and they usually have the da 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 da. It was silence, and it was brilliant. And it was I wonder how much they have to like get permission to do things like that.
Yeah.
But it works so well just to give you a bit of reflection time, to make it kind of feel like you're cutting it dead, mysterious, and loved it.
I wonder what smart Alec comments Trevor and Connie had.
Yeah, I wonder. Anyway, so that was the end of Monday's episode. That was the end of the whole funny camera technique sort of thing. Absolute triumph of an episode. But I'm still going to say I did feel just ever so slightly let down when it turned out that Theo was okay, because I was hoping that they were going to go all in on it and have some mega twist there. But
they're really...
still a definite 10 out of 10 for me.
They already had a twist where somebody just died for no reason, and that was Noah.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
People just dying left, right and centre in the storyline.
So Wednesday, which is the only other... No, sorry, Tuesday. I keep forgetting. We didn't even realise. I didn't realise, even though we'd announced it on the podcast a few weeks ago, I totally forgot that there was a Corrie on Tuesday. And we came home and we recorded the bonus podcast of this week, didn't we? And then you said, right, well, should we go and watch Corrie then? And I was like, no, what do you mean? It's Tuesday. And I was like, oh, brilliant, because as soon as Monday's episode ended, I was like, I need to see what happens next. And yeah, luckily, we only had to wait 24 hours.
In police custody.
Do you think that the way the story carried on Tuesday lived up to the cliffhanger that was created? Were you satisfied with it? Because it was all about Theo twisting the narrative a little bit, or attempting to, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Tell me what happens.
Let's remind ourselves, shall we? So Todd's tidying up at the flat, and Theo's saying, oh yeah, you're disposing of the evidence, are you? He's not impressed at all that Todd's put in these cameras. Although has he only found one?
I think he found the other one. We talked about it.
I can't remember.
And it would be weird if he remembered Todd bringing them home and that there were two of them, and they look the same. Yeah. And they're new. So you would be a bit dumb if you didn't realise the second new camera photo frame. You're
right, but I'm not completely convinced that it's been made obvious that he's found the other one. And I think if they then use that second one to get some kind of evidence against him, you're right, it'd be just a little bit weak, because you'd have thought that he would have put two and two together and inspected the other photo frame as well. But hey, George texts and saying, oh, I want to come over. So Theo says, okay, right, we need to stick to our story about what happened though, Todd, right? We also find Billy and Summer finding out a bit about what's happened from Bernie, and Summer is immediately on Todd's side, saying no way would he attack or hurt Theo. So it'll be interesting to see whether, as the story progresses, does she stay on his side? Is she like his staunch supporter through this, or does she get convinced otherwise?
Who, sorry?
Summer.
Right.
I would hope that she would stick to his side, because it feels a bit somewhat cliche that you always have people that turn against people, even though they probably never would. The innocent victim get made out.
It's always frustrating.
It can be really, really frustrating when people who should be sticking on somebody's side turn against them for plot convenience.
Yeah, but why are you saying that about Summer, though? Summer was kidnapped by Todd.
She wasn't kidnapped.
She was.
Just kind of...
He took her without permission and went on the run and lived in the woods.
They had an adventure.
If she remembers that, she'll go, actually, Todd has got a very poor judgment in dramatic situations.
I don't know. I wonder.
Look, Todd's a maniac. it would make sense of all the people who've ever been the victim or like, you know, the wronged party who nobody believes. It would make sense that Todd would fill that role because he was a manipulative psychopath. He came back because he was double-crossing a gangster that he was going out with. He's been up to all kinds. He was like buddies with Pat Phelan.
Yeah. I suppose we've seen a bit more of Todd having bits whittled away from him and him like hiding behind the curtains and everything, but nobody else has seen that. So they know Todd as more of a live wire and
Theo,
maybe a bit of a chancer.
Who's like a very happy, sunny, like a family man who gave it all up for Todd, and then something you know, that there's trouble in the relationship. Who would you point the finger at, knowing Todd's not had, I mean, the face of it, Todd's never had a long-term relationship we've ever seen him be in. Would you start thinking, well, maybe there's a reason that I've never seen him have a boyfriend for a long
we
time.
Also we had that scene last summer where Todd beat up Noah in the community centre, didn't we? So it's
all adding up to like
can be prone to violence.
Rosy.
I don't know whether
I'm not blaming him because he's a character and so he does stuff that people wouldn't like. If Todd was a real person, he wouldn't have done half this stuff because it's just written that way. So, but if you're looking for evidence about who's the problem, there's enough evidence to say that it could just as well be Todd as Theo.
I can't remember whether Theo has had any public outbursts.
No, I don't think he has.
No.
I mean, he doesn't like... Even with Noah, you know, all he's done is gone up and threatened people, but by himself. Like, he threatened James in that way, you know, but no one ever sees it happen. And unless you spoke about it to somebody else, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm not remembering. Miles, his son.
Yeah.
Did Theo...
They all got in a fight.
Who?
I don't remember.
Theo was definitely there, wasn't he?
Anyway. Theo's really good at keeping his hands clean.
Yeah, making himself...
And Todd is not.
The problem...
That's the only difference.
I suppose when Christina at the hospital was saying, oh, poor old Theo, I was thinking, well, hang on a minute. If you cast your mind back 3-4 weeks, you saw Todd putting the bins out, cowering away, looking really miserable, and you were suspicious there. And
she also said she didn't like Theo, and they had that altercation when they were having the party, and she was doing karaoke, and she said, I got your number. Don't even... I know men like you.
Well, I'm glad that by the end of Wednesday's episode, Christina's eyebrows have been raised again, or one of them quizzically at least. If
Christina isn't just going along with it to gather information, I'd be surprised.
I'm all for Christina being the one to take down Theo here.
And
it's just the perfect introduction and character transformation of her from kind of slightly dodgy and uncaring mother to Christina to being the new
to Daisy.
To Daisy, sorry, to being the new favourite hero matriarch of the street.
I really love that there's a potential of an echo of George Shuttleworth and Christina teaming up to take down an abusive man in the same way that his dad, Archie, helped Audrey discover Richard Hillman's shenanigans. And nobody believed them, but they both teamed up together to find out what was going on. And I think that's a really cool, parallel.
They could actually.
If they go down that route.
I would hope that there's not going to be much to shake Sarah's faith in Todd.
You would hope.
I don't
bird.
I don't think we saw any of her in this story on Wednesday, did we? And certainly Billy. I would hope that he would take Todd's side in this.
Billy's just been a bit of a dip this week.
Oh, he's barely been in it.
Oh no, but when he has been in it, he's just been like, hello.
Well, Dee-Dee's disappearing off to Singapore, isn't he? He's
I know, but why didn't he say to her?
He's had a bit of a knock.
He's like, God knows what you mean to do. It doesn't matter if you hurt people's feelings.
Did he say, God knows what you mean to do, or God knows what you mean you're doing going to Singapore?
He's like, God knows why you're going to Singapore.
Anyway, right. So, yes, George comes in to see the pair of them, and Theo says, look, it's fine, we just had a silly disagreement. His arm is firmly around Todd. And you can see Todd is there just utterly broken, isn't he? It's a bit like that promo picture they had a couple of months ago where all the life has gone from Todd. And and Theo's there as a smiling ventriloquist in the background, and George can see that Todd's pretty upset by this, and maybe this is why he's kind of inviting. No, Theo invites George for lunch, and George kind of snaps his hand off, and maybe it is because he wants to try and investigate a little bit more and say what is going on here. Yeah. And as soon as George leaves, Theo says to Todd, "You bloody well liven up, because you can't be in misery like this."
You're bumming me out, man.
Yeah. So Christina and George go along to this dinner later, and Theo announces that Todd wants to say something, which is an apology to George that they fell out the way they did, and George is really relieved by this, and he's almost caught off guard by it, and maybe he thinks, well, maybe this is why Todd is looking a little bit down, because he feels like he needs to make this apology. So he's like, oh, if that's all it is, fantastic. But Christina, who comes quite unsubtly makes George invite Todd back to the Undertaker's, she's still suspicious as the dinner party goes on.
Yeah, George got completely wrong-footed by this, because he'd been told by Bernie and Summer to keep an eye on what's going on. And he gets thrown off the scent immediately by an unexpected development, which is, the apology from Todd. So prompted by Theo.
Yeah, exactly. So dinner goes well until Todd accidentally knocks over a glass, and he's like really jumpy because he's thinking, what's my punishment for this going to be? And Theo's like saying, "Oh, don't worry, you silly sausage. It's all fine. These things happen." And again, Christina's like, "What's he doing? Why is he acting this way?" And George takes the opportunity at this point to dig for details about last night.
That reminds me of the time you guys smashed a bunch of stuff up here, and Bernie heard you.
Yeah.
Wait,
and Theo says, "Look, maybe I underplayed it. Yeah, he paints a bit more of a vivid picture and says, okay, he did get pretty rough, I'm not going to lie. But the way that he words it is putting Todd completely in the spotlight and saying, Todd did get really rough with me. Todd did this, Todd did that. But it's all over now, no problem." And then once they're alone, Todd's like, "Theo, why did you tell George that? You made it sound like I was the one that started it, but it was you." And Theo says, "Well, no, I barely touched you, actually. You're the one that was violent first." And Todd says, "Look, I know what you're doing here. You're twisting things. You've been doing it for months." And yet again, we're like, yeah, God, you tell him. And he goes and Theo says, "Well, no, I'm not. You're gaslighting me here, Todd. You're rewriting history. I'm going to show you exactly who's to blame here." And he goes and locks himself in the bedroom. And when he comes out later, he's been doing a spot of video editing, hasn't he? So Theo has taken the footage. I think that, I don't know how. I thought
this was hilarious. The idea that Theo, as like a scaffolder, has also got really great video editing skills. Makes me laugh, and I think we should employ him.
Well, I didn't
because we always need somebody to do video editing. We could have a bit,
yeah. How did the video get to the laptop? Is it stored on the cloud?
Yes, it is.
In which case,
we'll just
the original video is still available.
No, he deleted it.
Did he take was it on an SD card inside the camera? I can't remember.
I don't think we know, but we'll just say it was.
And this at least says that if there is another, if there's a second camera, and it was all in the cloud, then Theo would have found out about the second camera. He's like, it says there's two sources.
Probably
here.
on the desktop on Todd's laptop, it's got like a folder that says secret video surveillance footage.
1 and 2. It all goes
into that camera, picture frame camera 1, picture frame camera 2.
It only makes sense. If they're going to use this second camera as something that catches Theo out, it only makes sense if the video was stored on an SD card.
They're not going to. The story, it would be really unsatisfying if this story ended up with Theo being caught out because he's unmasked as a villain because of a video. It's not how it should end. And if it was going to end like that, it could have ended like this. This is why I was confused about why he even did it. And he did explain, though, didn't he?
What?
What you haven't written down whenever Todd explains why he's recorded him.
No,
because I still don't really remember what he said about it.
I can't remember. But he's desperately trying to fight for himself. Because but Theo's just got an answer for everything.
To me, that's the weakest part of this storyline. That it doesn't really make sense to me that Todd recorded Theo. on a video. Why would you? I don't like it. Doesn't. If you're.
It's because he knew that something was going on, and I think he knows that Theo will twist it.
Is it for his own... The thing is, though, he can't use it for that purpose now, because Theo's twisted that as well.
I suppose that Todd could think that he could rewatch it back himself, just to prove to himself that he's not going insane, and he is remembering the facts.
But the thing is about being abused, you don't stay because you forget that you were abused, or you're confused about whether it's abuse or not, really. You stay because of other reasons. It's not like he needs proof. I don't know. I guess some people are in relationships where they don't realise they are being abused, but I don't think that Todd is in that situation.
No, he knows.
I think he knows.
Which is why you go back to, well, why don't you leave then? Because by the end of that scene, Theo's saying, well, you help me. You're telling me I need help, so you help me. Let's just gonna go through this together. So much has gone wrong this year. Let's have each other's backs. And Todd is just like, fine. And at the end of the episode, they're kind of back to square one again, aren't they? Todd's kind of sitting on the sofa staring at nothing, and Theo's just like merrily walking around the kitchen saying, oh, we should go to some counselling sessions together, and then we go to bed. And yeah, it's right back to the start again. You
could definitely criticise a storyline about abuse for not really portraying the reasons why somebody wouldn't just leave, but you can't criticise victims of real abuse for not doing that. That's what I'm saying. So if you're watching this and going, I still don't get it, then it's to do with maybe the story itself. I don't know. Because it is confusing. Because Todd does still have agency. He's not without friends. That's what happens when you get abused. So you get everything. Your support system is completely removed.
Well, Theo tells
and there's no escape.
Todd off for having Sarah around on the Monday.
I know, but he then lets George and Christina come around, and then the insinuation is that Todd's got his job back. So
yeah, I did think that was a little odd.
So really, Todd knows that if he went round to George and Christina and said, look at what he's done.
I wonder whether Theo's got a plan to stop Todd going to his job, and he agreed to let him have his job back. But in his head, he's thinking, well, I'm going to stop him, but I've been the nice guy by helping to get you back in the first place.
If there was an insinuation that Theo's going to use this footage edited to get Todd in trouble for assaulting him, that would make sense. But he hasn't really said that, and I don't get the impression that that's what Todd's worried about.
Do you think that this footage, any footage, is going to be able to be used to be the thing that brings down Theo?
No, I don't. It's not.
Because that was in a way for Jeff as well, wasn't it? Do you remember when he had the footage of him intimidating Yasmin in the kitchen? And I think that was it Alia? Was it Tim? I don't remember. Find this footage, and they're like, God, Jeff is a git all along. So again, a bit too similar if they go down that route, maybe.
At the moment, there's no... I don't know.
The other thing, just before we move on, that I really... I enjoyed about this camera technique is I was desperately trying to look at all the other frames to see if there are any clues going on in there. And I don't think that there were. But I was there trying to make notes on the laptop and watch the main action and watch the other scenes, and it would have been fun if in the background of some of the other shots there'd just been like somebody walking past or anything at all that we weren't supposed to notice, and it was a bit like, hiding in plain sight. But I think by this point, if anything like that existed, somebody would have said, hang on a minute,
people would have found it.
Here's Becky skulking in the background or whatever. If I'd been doing that, that's what I'd have done anyway.
Wow.
I don't want to be giving the great Matt Hilton tips, but maybe try that next time.
What the hell are you talking about?
Hidden clues.
So anyway, a good, really great Monday's episode. Really, really great.
I think I was just left a little frustrated on Wednesday that things had gone back to how they were, but I understand that that's how these things happen.
Yeah, I know. And I don't...
Also, it's not Christmas yet, and surely it's going to blow up at Christmas.
I think it's really easy to say something that people are going to take the wrong way when you're talking about this episode and you're wondering about Todd's situation and why he doesn't leave. And I'm just going to just say that from what I understand about being abused, it's not that easy, but I don't know really whether I feel as though Coronation Street has shown that in the story. And I don't think that anyone could take that as a bad reflection on people that have lived through this.
Yeah.
Because that's what the last thing I want to do is hurt people's feelings and make them feel as though anyone blames them for the situation that they're in. But this is a constructive narrative. It's not a real situation, and so it is. You can criticise the way it's portrayed without criticising people that it's really happened to. Because that's what you're saying. We both know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm going round in circles and saying one thing 1 minute and 1 minute one thing the next. I know that.
It's a good story. At least we can agree on that.
It is a really compelling story.
And I think at the end, Theo is not death or prison.
I don't know. Let's get.
I'm gonna say death. I'm gonna go death with him, and I think that Todd is going to recover by going to Thailand, because there's no way that Eileen is coming back to Coronation Street, and she probably would do in this circumstance.
I think you just go to Singapore.
Do you reckon? That's where all the cool people go.
Yeah.
Well, that's where they're headhunting lawyers. Maybe, and Todd does have a bit of a legal background, hasn't he? So they'll have anyone over there in Singapore.
Maybe there's some kind of really special reciprocal visa situation between Weatherfield and Singapore.
Yeah, maybe they're twinned.
Yeah.
It's like a French exchange, isn't it?
Okay, right, let's talk about another great
savoury
story.
Definitely another icky story.
It does make you feel gross watching all of these, honestly. This is people at their worst. And Coronation Street isn't always like this, but I feel like every year that goes past, it just becomes more and more about the worst things and people that can happen. I don't remember Ina Sharples grooming anybody.
I don't think that she did. I don't think so. Megan is... Would you say that she's a villain as well?
Yeah, why? What do you mean she's a pedo?
No, I know, but she's not necessarily at the moment being portrayed as the bad guy, is she?
Who are you?
I know that she's doing... I know. They're still kind of almost going down that, we can't get caught out. But she's not... she's somebody who's doing something that's clearly wrong, but I don't think that she is...
What? I don't know what you're saying.
She's not coming across as a classic villain in any way.
How would she become? How would that look to you?
I don't really know, but it's funny because again on ITV3 at the moment you got John Stape having an affair with Rosie, who was similar age. I think she was a little bit older, and he came across as a bit of a Mr. Nice Guy throughout it all. He was a bad guy clearly, but there's a lot of sympathy for John Stape, wasn't there?
Okay.
And I don't think that we're having sympathy for Megan here, but I don't think that she's been portrayed anywhere near as darkly as Will. I mean, she's not standing around as Theo, is. She's not standing around in ginnels looking.
Some of this may be pretty privilege
lusty,
because she is very attractive and people get a pass. But so's Theo.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
I really don't. I don't know what you're getting at, but I'm sure if people agree, they understand what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know. They're not making her do the sorts of things that Corrie villains usually do, but it's clear that her
crime is loving too much, Michael. How do you portray that in a negative way?
I don't know.
It's because the crime that she's committing is not something that is, if he was 20 years older, everything they're doing would be fine.
Yeah.
So why would she look? It's just I hate this storyline because everything you say about it is just so problematic, no matter what.
Still waiting for the Tim and Trisha.
I just hate
bit to rear its head again.
I think Megan should be put in a barrel and pushed over the Niagara Falls. So, Will's got a text about another session later and he's telling Bernie that he's got no school at the moment and it's all a bit boring, And meanwhile, we're getting Maggie learning from Daniel about why he wanted to be a teacher, and she thinks he's boring old fart.
That was so funny. She was like, "Oh, it's so boring. Those poor kids."
I know. Will catches Megan in the pub and says, "Let's go out." And he says, "No, I've got Daniel to hang out with, but I'll make it up to you tomorrow because it's your birthday." And he's like, "Woo!"
I do get the impression. It's hard, isn't it? Because I know Megan's telling Will, "Look, this is all a cover," but I am getting the impression that she is interested in Daniel.
I wonder if this will end with Megan breaking up with Will and then Will trying to get revenge on Daniel. Because Daniel's good at fighting teenage boys.
I mean, Megan's in a dangerous position as well, because if she does spurn him, he very well could just sort of report her.
Yeah.
Because he seems like, he's childish in many ways, and a reaction to be like, "Well, I'm telling on you then."
Yeah, it could ruin her life.
Yeah, so she is playing quite a dangerous game there. It's a good cover story to have Daniel, but I'm getting the impression she's quite interested. She's interested in him.
Who wouldn't be?
But she was also on today's episode very jealous when she found out about this Chloe girl.
I know, that was great.
Which, is
anyway. So Daniel sees Will like glowering and like looking at Megan, and he's like, see you looking at her, but you don't let it get out of hand. And he gets really mad, doesn't he? Like, get out of my face.
Yeah.
And Brody comes in because Bernie, his grandma, has given him 20 quid to befriend Will for the afternoon. And Will says, "I've got a training session, so I can't do it." And then Maggie says, "Look, go with him." And Brody keeps making all these jokes about Megan and fancying Megan and thinking that she's well fit. And Will's really not having it. And Brody, he kind of keeps putting him off, trying to get rid of Brody. And then in the end, Brody's like, "Oh, you're really boring. I'd rather take Megan into town." And Will gets mad and punches him.
You got the impression from looking at Megan in that scene that she maybe fancied Brody, didn't you?
She made this look when Brody was kind of like being... because Maggie comes out and Bernie comes there. And so you've got Maggie and Bernie fighting each other, well, arguing, as well as Will and Brody. And they have to drag... Bernie has to drag Brody away, and Megan kind of looks like, she kind of bites her lip almost.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder whether it's just like anybody that age Megan is interested in.
He's too old for her, surely.
I don't know how old he's supposed.
I don't know what her attraction to Will is. I don't know what in her brain is triggering it, so I wouldn't know whether it would be Brody looks like an older boy. Will looks young.
Yeah.
Will's got, like I said, baby face. I was talking about Hope before, and I think everyone knows what I mean. But you look like a child. He looks like a child. Both Hope and Will have this childish look, whereas Brody has got a more mature look to his face. So maybe Megan wouldn't fancy him. I don't know.
I loved how Brody was just kind of smirking as he was getting dragged away after this fight. And this was another scene that I think Maggie haters would have used as evidence to say she is a nasty piece of work, because she was being really cruel to Brody, wasn't she? Kind of making insults about his mum being in prison and... but it was more of the, we Driscolls protect our own sort of thing.
So Ben...
Put some cream on your knuckles.
Ben gives Will a hard time and asks him why he's acting like this. And is it because of a girl? And so Will covers by saying he's seeing Chloe again from Hull. And Ben's like, just don't get your heart broken again.
I love the consistent characterisation of Ben as, "I'm not taking any nonsense from you." Because he was like, you said he was giving her a really hard time, wasn't he? Saying, "So what was that all about then? You tell me, don't you lie to me." And it was quite kind of Jim McDonald-ish in a way, and it wasn't just the accent, but he's a bit of a tough father. I'd
like to see what he's like with Susie, because Eva obviously doesn't really view Ollie as a son that she needs a parent.
Yeah.
And Will, she does a bit, but she gives Ben the precedent over her.
Yeah.
As she's not the biological mother. And Ben is not the biological father of Susie, but I would imagine that Susie really doesn't know anyone but him.
No.
As a dad.
She's his...
and
He's
he
her
probably, I don't know when he was introduced to her life, but not only is she not his kid, but she's also a girl. And I think the way that Ben reacted to Will in that room, in the hotel room, would not have been the way he reacted to Susie, which he found on her 16th birthday in a hotel room.
No,
so
100%.
What I'm trying to say is that
he'd knock the living bells out of whoever. He'd knock down that bathroom door.
But
and
what I'm saying is there feels like it's a bit of a gender bias in how Ben is being parented by Ben is parenting Will. Like, I'm going to be really hard on you. I'm going to expect certain behaviours from you, but also I remember being a lad myself. So if you want to shag about in a hotel, fill your boots.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder. We saw like flashes of Maggie's parenting style to the boys, didn't we? In the flashback episode where she was kind of almost using them as ammunition against Alan. But I do get the impression that Ben had quite a strict upbringing himself there.
She seems like a very difficult to please, almost abusive like Theo. One minute she's fawning over you and the next minute you put your foot wrong and she's
so I think that the way that we've seen Ben talking to Will, I imagine that he also had the riot act read to him by Maggie on numerous occasions in the same way.
Alan seemed like a much more sensible parent.
Because Maggie doesn't want any namby-pamby son, does she? She wants him to be take control of things. And we Driscolls do this, that and the other. So she would have definitely raised him as to stand up for himself. And I think, there's a lot of that parenting style we're seeing from Ben as well.
Daniel teases Megan about the boys scrapping over, and also Will and Megan meet up, and she's like, don't do that again. Basically, stop being silly and you get us caught out.
I can't wait to see Daniel's face when he finds out what's been going on.
On Friday, it's Will's birthday, 16, and they've been making comments about Megan, and Will have been making comments that are really gross.
Well, yeah, as part of today's episode, he says, well, I'm 16 now, there's nothing wrong with it.
Wow.
And this is like, when we had Martin having it off with Katie, again, he wasn't portrayed as a villain here, was it? And it was almost, obviously you had like Sir Tommy Harris saying you're a pedo and sort of knocking him down in the street, but as viewers, we didn't say, well, Martin has turned into a villain now.
Well, look.
So is this going to be? How are we going to be thinking about Megan now that Will is 16? Are we going to be flipped to say, oh, it's okay? Or is it no, because it started before he was 16, this is still very unsavoury, and she's obviously in the position of trust over him?
It wasn't really all that long ago, even though it was actually that long ago, that Chris Evans, not that Chris Evans, the DJ, married Billie Piper at the age of 18. And so when you're talking about what Martin was getting up to, was that not a similar time? I don't remember. But people have had very funny ideas about this for a long time.
What is and isn't acceptable.
I don't get it myself.
I still feel that it is very, very unacceptable at this point.
Of course it's unacceptable. But I'm just saying, but even at the time people were like, this is weird, why are they getting married? But anyway, it happened.
I wonder what Ben's going to do again when he finds out, because he also doesn't seem like the sort that would hit a lady.
I think, unfortunately, a lot of men think that it feels natural to be attracted to young women. But whether Ben would then go, oh, I get it, because who doesn't like a schoolgirl? I don't know.
I don't know. I think he's going to feel very guilty that he was almost onto them today, and he's allowed Will to continue to be abused in this way.
I don't understand why you would ever be attracted to anybody that is so drastically much younger than you.
No.
But I don't care to know either. Right, so it's Will's birthday, and Eva and Ben try a classic Corey fake out, pretending they don't care about his birthday. Because they're saying, "Oh, we're doing something. The order's not right."
Yeah.
And so
this is like Eva says to the Driscoll. This is what we do around these parts. If somebody's got a special birthday, what we do is we pretend. And Ben's like, "Okay, well, when in Rome, do as the Romans do."
And then she'll say, "Look, babes, honestly, it's fine because when it's his driving test, he'll tell us he's failed, but he's actually passed.
You'll get it then, yeah."
Yeah. Then he'll get revenge on us. Then
we knew from when we went to the set tour that it was going to be Will's birthday around here, didn't we? Because the dresser was full of happy 16th birthday cards for him. Yeah, that was our first exposure to him.
So Daniel asked Megan if she fancies going out tonight. She can't, and
because she's got plans.
She's got plans, and they bump into each other, Will and Megan, and he says, "Here's a hotel key card," and she's like, "Oh."
Yeah, and she's like, "I'll give you your present later, wink, wink."
Can you actually hire a hotel room when you're 16?
I don't know. I did wonder that.
I don't think Debbie needs to sort out her...
I imagine the exchange went something like this. "Hi, Debbie. Can I have a hotel room, please?" And he's like, "What? No, you're 16. No way." And he's like, "Well, it is for an illicit, kind of sordid, secret affair that we're going to be getting up to."
Grubby sex.
Yes, for grubby sex. He's like, "Oh, you want the grubby sex pass?" We give that to anybody.
Yeah.
We've got the special grubby sex room.
Yeah, for that one.
I was going into this episode. Sadly, I had seen a preview picture of Will and Megan in bed looking shocked at something, and I was like, someone's going to catch them at it. And half of me thought, it's going to be Abby or Carl walking in on there. Because that's basically, it was the same room, wasn't it? I know that all of the rooms
the rooms look the same
are
in the hotel,
identical.
Michael.
But that was Carl's room.
So... the Driscolls putting on a surprise party, and Maggie, for some reason, is the voice of reason here. She's going, "This is silly. Why are we doing this?
Yeah,
He's
I don't
going to be
like
miserable.
tricks.
Let's phone him up. You're going to make him sad." I don't know why it took a psychopath to tell them that what they were doing was stupid, but that's just Corey for you. So Megan turns up at the hotel, and she's really anxious. Will doesn't care, and then there's rose petals on the bed, and so they get on with what they were there to do. And
they had... We talked about it as we watched the episode. This wasn't their first time. She hadn't been saving herself for his 16th birthday.
There was nothing in there to make us think that she had, waited until it was legal.
No.
But anyway.
Because they'd been away with each other before. That was when he wasn't there on his first episode when the Driscolls came. They were together, so... I think in his mind, he's just thinking, well, it's okay now. Maybe we can even come out in the open and announce that we're...
that's what he's thinking.
Yeah, we're a couple.
No.
And she's like, "No, we really, really can't." So he's going to get more and more frustrated. He's going to want the whole world to know. But she's like, "No way."
Maggie sees Bernie in the pub, and she apologises for the other day and says she's been reading the cards. And
that was a fun scene.
She comes up with a bunch of predictions, which will be interesting to write down and see whether they come true.
Yeah.
They were very vague, so surely they will. So Ronnie tells the Driscolls, because they're like, "Where's Will? Where's Will?"
Just to speed the plot along,
He's
Ronnie
like,
comes in and said, "I saw him.
He went to the hotel."
I'm afraid to tell you that he went into the daddy's grubby sex room.
I saw a 16-year-old boy by himself in the hotel foyer. Just so you know. So they rush out to find him, and GDPR be damned, because they get told which hotel room he's in, and they're in bed together at the time. Will's got his socks on, and that's about it.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
He's only little.
They're there with nothing on the top half, but socks are on, and I don't think they've been getting up to too much action, because those rose petals don't look like they've been very disturbed. No, they weren't all over the floor.
So
they've just been snuggling.
They've had a nice time, haven't they, Will and Megan? But then they're disturbed because Ben and Ollie have found out where they are, and they're knocking on the door. So Megan,
oh my gosh, if I was Will, I would be absolutely bricking it, knowing what my dad is like.
Megan hides in the bathroom. Will lets Ben in, and then Ollie sits on the sex bed, which is a bit gross, and notices lipstick on the mug by the bedside table and a cup. I think just the fact a 16-year-old boy has ordered a cup of tea from room service is suspicious in itself. But
well, they didn't notice the rose petals that were all over the bed either.
They didn't seem to notice it at all. And his excuse,
what's going on
I just fancied
here?
Some time by myself, so I hired a hotel room for the evening.
Yeah, I had a hotel room.
It's very sophisticated for a 16-year-old.
I just wanted to have rose petals all over the place.
Because, it was an option. I ticked it.
Yeah.
So Ben's
Yeah, why not? Let's go. Let's just splurge.
It's
Go
my
the whole
birthday.
hog. Yeah. What other hotel extras do you think that you got
usually a
for?
bottle of champagne and some chocolate.
Chocolates on the pillow.
Yeah.
Trouser press.
A fan.
Yeah.
A sewing kit.
Yeah, and I did subscribe to the adult channels.
Yeah. And
Oh, good on you, boy.
yeah. We'll follow you later then. So he realises there's a girl in the bathroom. Does Ben, and asks if it's Chloe, and so immediately he's like, oh yeah, it's Chloe. And then they have this stuff about, oh, it's Chloe. I'll order her a taxi. She's too shy to come out. She's got to go back to Hull tonight.
It's so funny just
Really
seeing
weird.
his utter acceptance at the fact that
Just
Will
accepting-
had a girl in there.
And she's also presumably, if not 16, 15 years old. And he's like, she can find her own way back to Hull. I'm concerned though, so I'll order her a taxi. How much is this taxi going to take to send her to Hull?
It does kind of give you an idea about how maybe promiscuous Ben also was at that age.
He's like, nothing I haven't done. Let's go, Ollie.
Yeah.
So they all go.
In fact, I had it off with the 21-year-old girl at the pub when
are you
I was.
talking about?
That's maybe Ben says that as well. I had when I was 14. I was knocking off
They all did.
the woman at the pub. We
Just
all did it
normal.
back in those days. Didn't that right, Tim? It was all just good laugh.
Tim's like,
Hang
it
on
was
a
just
minute.
fun. It's just a bit of fun. They go back to the pub later. Ben tells Maggie that, he was talking to a friend, and they take great pains to not say that it was a girl because they don't want to set off alarm bells for Eva and Maggie.
Yeah, no, but Ben lies to
Well, he
cover
says-
up. He says I don't want Eva to
Yes,
and Maggie knowing
yes.
what was going on here.
So they all celebrate, and that's it really. They
It's
get
kind
away
of
with
it.
it.
Yeah, they get away with it. They have the Rovers quiz, which in classic Corrie fashion was one team against one other team.
Yeah,
but
well-
usually they'll at least have two teams that aren't anything to do with the pub. This was the home team versus the one set of customers that wanted to join in, which was Adam, Ken, and Daniel.
And they lose, don't they? Ken and Daniel win
Yes.
by 1 point.
Well, it's because Maggie thought
It's like
that it
the
was Mexico, the place where witches. What was the clue?
Hiding brooms from witches.
Yes.
But it's just like the Corrie quiz all over again because they lost by 1 point because somebody knew the answer but the other person didn't go with it.
Yeah, it was, wasn't
It
it?
was,
Yeah.
when they recorded this episode, they had no idea that they were predicting the future of the soap quiz.
No, you're right. Yeah, more on that later.
That's it, really. And then
I liked how Maggie said that it was Mexico because they're a good Catholic country.
no, I didn't catch that.
But that again makes me think like she would have 100% been brought up in a very strict Catholic household, wouldn't she, Maggie? And I wonder whether they will at all go down the route of how that affected her after the whole Alan down the stairs incident.
It is very interesting because the only other Catholic character that's really had any prominence is Ivy. And again, it felt as though her religion had a negative influence on her interactions with other people.
Yeah.
And Maggie's also very toxic. And it does feel like a very Protestant thing to be like, these weird Catholics and their religious beliefs.
But some people will kind of will say they're Catholic just because they've been brought into a Catholic and they were raised a Catholic, even if they're not at all. And it's kind of something they can...
It's this, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to say my last
once you're a
right.
Catholic,
I'm going
that's
to
it.
confess
Yeah.
on my deathbed, and then it's in my interest to start carry on saying I'm Catholic. But
I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So you're right. That was kind of the end of that.
Well,
story,
no.
wasn't it?
The last thing that happens is that Megan gets invited to Christmas Day at the pub.
she did, didn't she? Yes.
And Daniel's wanted to invite her, but then Eva invites Daniel as well. So what a great Christmas Day we're going to have with the pedo, her victim, and her boyfriend, all
Yes.
in one round one table.
Do you think because when I saw the preview pictures today, I thought that it's all going to have come out, but that's a bit early. Do you think that Thursday are we going to on Christmas Day have it all come out, or are they going to make it into the new year still going under the radar?
I think it's going to be a very Jimmy Savile Christmas.
I wonder whether somebody might find out, because Lauren, she's kind of half onto
There
it,
are
isn't
incredibly few numbers of characters who would find out and keep it a secret.
she? Maybe Tim.
Maybe Lauren would be persuaded.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Because she's very naive, and she remembers probably what it's like to have people accuse her of something and be a victim, and maybe she would think she's protecting Will or something.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Okay, so let's blast through the other stories, because I think most of the other ones are relatively short. We got the Joni story, which feels so much more lower key than the high drama of Todd and Theo and the cameras, and then this seedy Will and Megan story. But it actually just ended up having some fairly lovely character moments, didn't it? And little family scenes between Sally and Joni.
I think that it was funny about Sally putting up a tacky Christmas tree and having to compromise her aesthetics.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was funny.
What I was trying to signal to you there, Michael, was to look on your phone to see what the set looked like when you visited.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Gemma was just making some desperate hand signals to me, and I thought she was running out of battery on her phone.
No.
But oh well.
Because you visited the Metcalfe set, and there was Christmas decorations up, but
I think it was probably the second tree, to be honest.
because she puts up this very beautiful, white Christmas tree, and it's all very what's the word? Beige, I suppose.
Yeah, it was tasteful,
Very restrained,
wasn't it?
yeah, very
Single
restrained.
colour.
And we also had obviously Eva's pink Christmas tree. It's very, I like seeing what
I tell you what,
characters-
we haven't seen a single real Christmas tree in Coronation Street this year, have we? Everyone's got a fake one.
I don't think they have real trees, do they? Inside, because they probably
It's
are
probably a
nightmare.
little bit more difficult for the whole filming schedule.
Well, yeah, because also if you need to do pickups, you need to record again because you need some more footage from something from a month ago. The tree's already dead. What are you going to do then?
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, yeah. So
Sorry, I'm trying to
kids,
scroll down and find the pictures of me in the
kids aren't-
Metcalfe, but I'm not getting anywhere.
The kids aren't really that impressed by this tree because it doesn't look Christmassy. It doesn't even have coloured fairy lights on it. It's just all white. And then Joni goes and steals some champagne from the corner shop, which Maggie sees them, but she and Shanice run away, go back to the shop, go back home, and Summer follows them and tells Sally and Tim what's happened. And Sally sort of apologises, and Summer's like, I'm a stern lady, don't do it again. And it turns out that they
Dev's got a very strict
stole
policy.
the wine because they wanted to give it to their mum, which I'd be mad because they obviously need to be educated about prison and what the bottle policy is at prison.
Yes.
Am I doing the story or are you?
No, I don't know. Sorry, you kind of just started go. You can carry on with this one if you like. I couldn't find any pictures of Sally's Christmas tree on my phone when I was looking there, but
Sally tells them you can't do that and you're lucky that you got away with stealing it. And Joni's like really upset and they have a hug. Joni's the old one?
yes.
Okay.
We're still learning this all these years. Shanice wasn't really in it much this
No,
week.
not really.
This was definitely about the bond between Sally and Joni, which
Yeah.
we started to see blossom up on the roof when Mick was having his rampage earlier this year.
It was like
And
Speed.
I feel really bad for
With
Sally.
Keanu and Sandra.
Sally really is trying to do her best with Joni, and she's kind of she's almost coming across as just a bit of a typical.
Clueless middle class.
No,
dabbler.
I'm saying Joni is coming across as a bit of a not a nasty
Objectionable
teenager.
waif.
Yeah, but I very much buy that the upbringing that she has received from Lou and Mick has driven her because to be like this. She's very restrained, doesn't she? And then she has these outbursts. And I get the picture that growing up she had to be seen but not heard. She probably had to be sent to her bedroom, or she was left to look after herself a lot of the time, and all these kind of things that I think would lead to her being a little bit kind of mousy, but would have outbursts because she's seen outbursts from Lou. She's kind of learnt from her
And
mum,
her dad.
hasn't she? And her dad. So when she's pushing down the Christmas tree, or when she's hitting Shanice, that's
She's not
exactly
seen-
she's repeating modelled behaviour.
Yeah, she's not seen any healthy expressions or frustration or anger.
No, I think that within her there is a nice girl there.
Yeah.
She's just had a bit of a bad time being raised.
She's a Jenny, she's a Fizz.
Mm-hmm.
She's a, what's that boy with the report?
Oh, Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you think?
yeah. I reckon so.
So Sally and Joni put up the less classy Christmas tree with flashy coloured lights, and the girls are loving it.
Yeah.
I like the way that she's just saying it compromises my aesthetics, which was what I would feel. And she then on Friday decides to make them a perfect Christmas celebration a week early. She makes them special pancakes and gives them fruit, and Tim's going to take them to town and they're going to go ice skating. It's going to be wonderful.
She just wants to have the best.
She's overcompensating because she knows that they're going to have a crap Christmas because their mums and dad's in prison. So Fizz comes around the house to bring her a card, and then Sally invites her and Ruby and Hope over to enjoy a festive afternoon. But Joni's not happy because she doesn't like Hope. She thinks he's a nutter.
I love that.
But anyway, she's been invited to a party with the coolest girl in school who pierced her own nose with a staple gun. And Sally's like, you shouldn't have told me that. You're not going.
Well, did you? I thought that that was a bit of a misjudged reaction there, because she was doing her best. She's bending over backwards to make herself liked by Joni and showing that she's kind of cool.
Yeah, but she can't be the cool foster mum and let Joni go around a child's house who's clearly not well supervised.
I don't know. I think that Sally
you would be a bit irresponsible.
I know that it was.
It's not her. The other thing you've got to remember too is it's not her child. She's a foster parent, and so you have to err on the side of caution, really, don't you? Because you get investigated.
I think maybe you're right, but the way that she told Joni was asking for Joni to push down that Christmas tree. She was a bit like, no way, you're not going to that. And I think if she just sat her down and was like, okay, well, maybe that's not for the best.
This is like a typical Corrie story though, isn't it? Where somebody does something, somebody else overreacts.
But equally, you might say that Sally's innate snobbery would immediately jump to that, like, no, those are the staple gun, no way. But yeah, you're right. Somebody overreacts, and then
at the end of it, they understand each other.
Yes,
which is what exactly happened here.
Yes.
So Joni strops up upstairs, but then she still thinks she's going later on. And the Dobbs come in. Right in the middle of an argument between Sally and Joni, where Sally's like, right, you can go and be miserable up in your room, or you can sit here and enjoy yourself. And Joni's like, you're a cow. You're nothing to me. She pulls down the Christmas tree. She smashes the special decoration that Sally bought her on the floor.
I just want to have a quick shout out. Shout out to Hope, low-key star of today's episode with, like, did she even get a line? I don't know. No, but just her grinning.
Well, she didn't want to leave because Sally lays into Joni really properly, and I think Tim is there at this point.
He is.
And he's like, maybe shut up now. And she's like, no, she needs to hear this. You've got to learn some responsibility, or you end up like you're like my mum. Joni then storms upstairs, and everybody's like awkward. And Tim takes the two Dobbs kids across with Tyrone to leave Fizz there with Sally. And then they have a little chat, and she talks about what it was like for her being a foster kid, and Joni's like testing the boundaries, and they're going to get through it. And Sally appreciates the advice. She sits down with Joni later and tells her that she's sorry, and that Joni's like, what? For what? You didn't even do anything. My mum and dad were way angrier than that. And then Sally's like, look, I'm really just trying my best here. And Joni understands that, and they get this, they agree that they're going to have a great first Christmas as a family. I think. And so when Tim comes home, Sally and Joni are enjoying hot chocolate and watching a film, and the tree's been put back.
Anonymous film. I think that Lou is being besmirched here a little bit. I think since she's been inside, a lot's been said about her that's made her out to be worse than we actually saw. Or maybe we're remembering Lou wrong, just because we loved Farrell's portrayal of this character, and Farrell herself was so funny. But they're really making out like she's just this utterly rotten, scum of the earth sort of mum, and she was being abused. But I know that she gave as good as she got, but she was the victim of abuse from Mick, and I don't know whether is Lou coming back at any point, or is that it? Is she going to have various reasons why she stays in prison? But I'd love her to become back and be a more rounded character, and maybe a long-term character. But yeah, they're really making out like she was a really nasty piece of work. But I didn't get that from her.
Well,
did you?
I wouldn't say she's getting any parenting awards.
More likely to get coal and a satsuma in her stocking in prison this year.
More likely to get a stolen bottle of champagne from her children from a corner shop. Kind of a person.
Okay, let's skip ahead to Dee-Dee. I think we've pretty much made our opinions on the Dee-Dee departure story clear, haven't we? I mean, what is there to say about it? Dee-Dee says that she's going to Singapore. James isn't happy about it.
She hasn't even told him. On Tuesday, she's going the next day, and she hasn't told the co-parent of her child.
I know.
Which goes to show how little she respected the arrangement in the first place. She should never have said it. It's just... Honestly, this is one of those exit storylines that totally throws the character under the bus.
That's what I was going to say. Dee-Dee has not come out of this looking that great.
But even James, he just kind of sulks about it. He clearly didn't really view Layla as his daughter because he would have stopped her from going.
He didn't try very hard at all.
He just goes, oh, well, I guess it was inevitable.
This whole
was a
exit...
stupid idea in the first place.
Did. The whole exit just seemed like we need to tie this up really quickly, so we'll make both characters in it seem like they don't care. And I get that I almost get that from James, who is still, even in his new body, a bit of a personality vacuum. But Dee-Dee is supposed to be this loving, caring, compassionate, but we're not seeing any of it. She's just like, yeah, well, I'm going anyway. You're right. And she kind of accidentally gets invited to lunch with James, doesn't she? And then she tells him, and it takes a little while for the penny to drop with him.
Well, no.
And she's... I know that we get to see her crying and she's upset about it.
She tells her dad that she's got a job and they have a celebration lunch and she reveals that this job is actually in Singapore.
Yeah.
And James is like, how are you gonna co-parent Layla if you live in Singapore? And she's like, you dumb idiot.
Yeah.
I'm taking her with me. And she's like, oh, it's the best thing. Why
reason.
Specifically is it the best thing? Nobody presses her on this at all. They just go, oh, I suppose you know best. You probably researched Singapore. I don't even know where it is.
Yeah, mega rushed. Michael and James end up in the pub together Michael's trying to sort of smooth things over between them. But when Dee-Dee comes in, James is like, I'm not having a drink with you. It's just so utterly cliche. The character's going to be leaving. They have a fallout with somebody that's close to them, and you think they're not going to be there to say goodbye. And what do you know? They swan in at the last minute and say, "Oh, I've had a change of heart. Let's have a hug. It's fine." But the problem here is, I don't really buy. We've seen so little of Dee-Dee and James together, particularly new James. Dee-Dee was all over Coronation Street last year. It was the Dee-Dee show, but she's been very much a bit part this year. James even more so. And so this whole, oh no, is Dee-Dee going to go without saying goodbye to James? It's like, I couldn't care less.
The guy that she stabbed in the back.
Yeah, Corrie has not done a good enough job at all at getting me to care about the relationship between Dee-Dee and James, that any of this had any sort of effect on me, I'm afraid.
It does make me laugh how everyone's like, Dee-Dee's such a good Christian woman. She's so kind. But everything she's done has not proven any of that. She's been so horrible with James and about Layla all the way through this, so disregarding of his feelings.
It's because she's saying we'll do a co-parenting thing just to pay kind of lip service to the fact that she feels guilty that she's gone back on her original plan to let him have her for good.
But if they admitted that was it, that is a human. That's a very human thing and understandable. Really, what's happened is Shanique has decided to leave Corrie, and so they got to write her out.
Yeah, but that's what it so feels like.
But what I don't get is why she has to go to Singapore, because that's the thing that really is bonkers to me. If she said something like, I'm going to Glasgow or I'm going to Cornwall, it doesn't sound as really stupid and vindictive as going to Singapore when you told the same week you tell the person you're supposed to be co-parenting with that you're going. Like, if she lived in Singapore, if she lived in Cornwall, right, it would make sense they don't go all the time, and then James could see her at the weekends or something, and you'd never have to have Dee-Dee in the show ever again, It's like they think we're stupid and they have to explain why Dee-Dee won't be in the show. We know Dee-Dee's left. We know the actress isn't coming back. We're not going to be going, oh, why hasn't Dee-Dee appeared? I thought that Saturday was the day that they co-parent. She should be in it this episode because it's a Saturday episode. We know she's not going to be in it anymore. You don't need to send us to Singapore to give a reason why the character doesn't appear on screen.
Yeah. I wonder whether they should have killed Dee-Dee off.
Well.
Just to make it feel more realistic. It just... but
then they'd have Layla. I don't know why James...
Exactly.
I don't know why James couldn't have had Layla, and I'm still kind of a bit sore about the whole Dee-Dee didn't really know her mind when she said she didn't want children, and it really just took the magic of looking at a baby to realise that she was unlocking her biological potential that all women have, that they love babies and they have to... would have been way more powerful if she had gone... It really isn't working out. I said I didn't want a kid. I said I wanted to give her up for adoption, and so I'm going to Singapore. You have the baby. Some women are like that. That's fine. They're not any less of a woman than somebody who... They had a chance to do something a bit progressive with Dee-Dee and this kind of relationship with their daughter, and they didn't.
This was
like, you don't have to be an evil witch to not have a connection with a biological child if you're a woman.
This was just a perfect example of what we've been told and we've said about Coronation Street exits recently, that characters don't get an exit storyline.
They do it to themselves. They can write anything. They can make anything up. And they sent us to Singapore. Because they didn't want people to go, why is Dee-Dee not in it?
Anyway, the other thing that was kind of going on whilst Dee-Dee was... not really caring about breaking James's heart into...
Or buggering off and leaving her family. And she hasn't told her mum she's going.
No, exactly. Is James...
What mum, everyone says.
We're getting a reminder that James and Carl used to be more than just friends in the grubby hotel sex room. And when James is... sort of feeling at his lowest at the end of Tuesday's episode, he goes into the Rover's toilet. Nice that they've kept that set. Looks exactly like the ladies' toilet, who'd have thought. And he sends a sad text to Carl saying, Chariot Square, was it, I'll make it worth your while, or something like that. So, that almost... Does that almost get caught out again?
What do you mean?
Yeah, because that's right. Friday's episode is Carl's losing his phone, isn't it? And Abby, as the episode goes on, is there when Carl finds it in the flat. She looks over his shoulders and says, what's this message about from James? And he just says, oh, James is feeling guilty because I'm not allowed to go to the stag do because Kevin's going to be there.
So he's inviting me to a drink. The message said, Chariot Square, I'll make it worth your while.
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
Sorry.
So Abby kind of believes this, but it's definitely feeling like they're very, very close to this coming out. And I think this was the close call before the big discovery that Abby is going to be quite rightly...
Well, yeah, because James regrets sending the message, but only because Carl doesn't reply. And so we had spoken before about whether... Because he got really mad when he found out that Abby and Carl were together at the same time that Carl was sleeping with him.
Yeah.
And we wondered whether he had a moral objection or if he was just jealous. And he doesn't seem to really care that they're going out with each other. He's not like, I would never date somebody who's a two-timer, because he wouldn't have sent the message, and he didn't regret it because of that relationship. He regretted it because he felt like he'd been rejected.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that there will end up being an affair between James and Carl.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be found out pretty quickly, I reckon. There was a bit where later on in the episode where James tells Carl that he should leave Abby if he's going to be doing like this, and Carl's like, I don't need the complications at the moment. So he's perfectly happy to keep the status quo. He's been a bit of a chancer, isn't he? But
yeah.
Well, so that was kind of it with Carl and James. And yeah, with the Dee-Dee story, it literally is just a case of she has her goodbye party in speed dial, says goodbye to all the characters that she's had some scenes with over the past year, which basically is...
Billy and Lauren.
Billy, Lauren, the Baileys, and that's it. And then she gets into a cab and goes, but not before James has turned up and said, goodbye, Layla, I love you. It's just, totally half-assed exit.
They dragged out poor Great Hope's... No, what's her name?
Glory.
Grace Hope? I can't remember.
Glory was standing around looking miserable today,
like,
and so was Bertie.
Why am I in this scene?
That scene with Daniel and Ken in number 1, and Bertie's just there going, they brought me in for the first time in years, and I don't even get anything to say. I remember when I used to be cute.
He is cute. He just was grumpy.
Yeah, he's a bit...
And Eeyore was grumpy and cute, so...
Anyway, so that's it for Dee-Dee.
I wonder why they didn't just say Dee-Dee's gone to live with Aggie. And the fact that they didn't do that when that was definitely an option makes me wonder if they might be thinking about recasting Aggie or having Aggie come back.
Oh, why?
Because it's such an obvious thing to go, I'm going to live with my mum.
Yeah.
Why would you go to Singapore when your mum probably lives, up the road?
I don't know where Aggie's supposed to be at the moment, but...
They needed to write an explanation as to why Dee-Dee left, and they went Singapore, not Aggie.
Yeah.
So why was that?
Well, we're a little short for time today. So I usually at this point we'd kind of be looking back on Dee-Dee's story on the street and saying, are we sad for her to be gone and all that kind of jazz, but I imagine that at some point in the new year, January, we'll get our character profile of Dee-Dee and we'll get to kind of dissect her there. But my kind of immediate reaction with all of this, and I'm really sad to say it particularly, is I'm not absolutely gutted that Dee-Dee's going. I think that she was a bit of a victim of overexposure last year, and I like the character. I don't think that she's been used particularly well this year. I don't particularly think that the street's going to be really, really missing her. I wish I felt worse. I mean, we've been waiting so long for Dee-Dee to arrive, hadn't we?
I know, she was the fabled final Bailey.
Yeah, and she managed to be in and out, and Ed and Michael are still going.
I know.
And James is back. So yeah, we'll unpick Dee-Dee more in a future episode, I'm sure.
Why don't you write in and tell us what you thought of the exit and the character and her stories?
Yes, why not indeed.
Final storyline this week was Cassie and Tracy, where they kind of have another squabble on Tuesday about a dress and...
Cassie's pouring Theo... No, Tracy pours tea over Cassie's dress, doesn't she?
And they just argue.
It was, yeah, it felt like a bit of a filler.
I like the scenes between the two of them. We do need rivalries between two characters, and they do manage to trade some pretty impressive insults. I just wish that they were fighting over something a bit more interesting than Steve McDonald.
Yeah, it's got to be leading to something.
I don't know if it does have to. I mean, Eileen and Gail had a rivalry for years that wasn't for a purpose other than it's funny.
But Corrie these days,
argue.
Corrie these days doesn't have stories where characters are just talking or arguing or whatever just for the sake of it, for flavour. There's got to be a leading to something. So if you're right, if this had been back in the day, I'd have think, oh yeah, they're just doing this, but they wouldn't have bothered writing these scenes if it's...
They get up to
but we also had the thing last week with Tracy saying that she wanted to spend more time with Ken, and she wasn't even on the quiz team on today's episode, did we? But again, that's possibly leading towards something. I don't know.
Right, come on then. What are you going to score this week?
It's a tricky one, wasn't it? Because Monday's was so good.
Monday was exceptional.
I thought today's was kind of a high bang, and I did enjoy it. I thought that the Will and Megan stuff was not bad.
You mean high bog standard?
High bog standard. So I'm saying all the wrong words today. I told you I'm tired. I think that Wednesdays was so.
Tuesdays.
Thank you. You're going to correct it when I say a number as well. I think you mean 5, Michael.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to go, just because the second 2 episodes weren't at the high calibre of the first. I'm gonna end up with 3.5 stupid mouthy slappers out of 5.
I thought you were going to call it Deirdre's Dream Boys, which was...
Oh yeah, the quiz team. That was funny. That was an odd bit of dialogue, wasn't it? When they say, we've got to come up with a
team. A quiz. A name for the quiz.
Yeah, that's it. What are we going to call the quiz, they said. Is that no, you mean the team.
But also, Deirdre never met 2 of you.
I'm sure she did.
The actors.
I'm sure she did.
No, she didn't.
She definitely was around for Sam Robertson being Adam.
Oh, right,
she didn't meet
She
Millard.
doesn't care about you. She's in heaven.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about your stupid
What are you
quiz
scoring
team.
this week?
I'm going to give this 4 compromised aesthetics.
Nice.
Because I feel the same way about it as Sally. Like, as much as I make fun of her, she's closer to me than I think I want to admit. I love tablescaping. I'm just not very good at it.
Well, I like how our Christmas tree aesthetic is quite different from my mum's as well, because she was all about, this year the Christmas tree is going to be red and gold.
Was she?
Yeah.
My mum was like...
Although my mum also was absolutely fine with the fake Christmas tree, and your family wouldn't have that at all, would they?
Yes, they would.
Do they?
I don't know.
No, your family is all about real trees, and we always have real trees. But my mum liked a posh, fancy, fake tree, but we just throw anything on there, don't we?
What are you saying?
I'm saying, I think that if my mum, who was fostering somebody, she would have been similarly unhappy about having to compromise her aesthetics
But you're saying we throw anything on the tree? We don't. We have the same decorations every year.
Yeah, but it's
which
a
are
mixed bag.
Individual ones that we've purchased one by one, not a set of the same colour.
Yeah,
that's what you mean.
My mum hated coloured lights. Would she have done that for Joni?
They have been very deeply unfashionable for decades now, but I think they're coming back.
Gee.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
I'm not a coloured fairy lights person.
My character of the week this week, it's got to be Todd, really, hasn't it?
Toddington.
He was just
Toddicles.
Gareth Pearce, absolutely exceptional. We've always kind of rated him as an actor, and this is his kind of standout story of them all, isn't it? So. Good stuff. Well done, Matt Hilton. I do believe that Matt has been doing some more directorial work on Coronation Street in the past couple of months, so look out for more. I don't know whether it's going to be any experimental stuff, but
we don't know.
No, we don't.
Makes it sound like we do know.
We don't know. We don't have a clue. Right. Anyway, that's it for this week's Street Talk.